while hiking the Eildons in the Scottish borders, I stumbled upon a half-buried ornate wooden box. Inside, there was an old egg, a mushroom, and an empty black plastic bag. I decided to leave it as I found it. Curiously, shortly after, I followed a small, worn path that I assumed would lead me back home. After about an hour, the path abruptly ended, leaving me surrounded by 2-meter-high thorny bushes with no way forward except to turn back. Instead of retracing my steps, I chose to climb a short hillside covered in heather, thinking it would be an easy detour. It turned out to be far more treacherous than I expected and ended up being the most physically exhausting thing I've ever done. Anyone know what this is? This is witchcraft or spell box. I found online they're used to cast spells on people. Mushrooms mean poison. Trash bag might be a belonging from person. Eggs mean new birth, and burying it in the ground can mean new growth or death. In my wildly uneducated opinion, I think it's a spell box to make someone's pregnancy unsuccessful. I found a heavy wooden block with a metal front and silver welding. It stands about 6 inches tall and 4 inches wide with the words Square Gate and Osram MR1 visible. It was part of a collection of geeky and nerdy items. Any ideas what this thing is? It's some schematic for some sort of device that uses a pendulum to time when pictures should be taken. Check the reversed image. It talks about the pendulum in the top right swings across, triggering the camera shutter to close and the pendulum locking in place. I found a scientific report where they were experimenting with applying immense pressure to sheets of liquid water, then taking pictures with a high-speed camera, and this is the schematic for how the timing mechanism on that camera worked. From some book paper titled The Instability of Liquid Surfaces by D.J. Lewis, I came across this object inside Goethe House in Germany, dating back to around the 1700s. It is made of wood and stands about 6 feet tall. Based on its design, it likely served the purpose of pressing something down. The structure appears to be quite practical, suggesting it was used in everyday tasks during its time. Though its exact function is unclear, its presence in a historic house like Goethe House hints that it could have been part of a traditional tool set or equipment used for household or work-related activities. Anyone know what this is? This is linen press. A linen press often means a big old-fashioned cupboard where you keep household textiles, but it can also mean a screw press for keeping linen smooth and neatly folded. This kind of press was used by the Romans for giving a good finish to new and laundered cloth. Over the centuries, presses of this type have been used for smoothing both freshly washed and recently used linen, especially table linen, which led to the name napkin press. Tightening the vertical screw puts pressure on a board sitting on top of a pile of folded cloth. Ornate carved presses were more than functional. They were a good way of displaying your best white cloths and napkins in a fine piece of furniture. And this was particularly true in 17th and 18th century Europe and North America. Often called napkin presses, they were kept near the dining table, for show and for convenience. Plainer presses might be in a pantry or laundry room. See one press with very elaborate carving from Wawel Castle in Poland, or this drawing of a plain press. The pressure on the cloth does more than flatten it. It may give linen a slight sheen, and it emphasizes the folds. So folding linen neatly in a regular pattern was important, and could even be decorative, as in the medieval tablecloth shown at the bottom of this page. Folding along the old creases when putting a tablecloth back in the press after a meal was important, as Victorian servants' advice manuals insist. I found 4 wooden blocks in my hotel room in Rome, placed next to the beds. Each block has what looks like an aux cord coming out of it. I couldn't find much information online, and there don't seem to be any speakers in the room that these could be connected to. The fact that there are 4 of them in the room makes me think they aren't intended as aux inputs. Any idea what it could be? It used to be a headphone output for the TV. Why wouldn't they still be useful? I can see them being good for people who watch TV or play games on the TV while other people in the house are sleeping. Unless they link up to the TV by some plug-in receiver, and new TVs don't have a slot for it. My parents discovered a box that had been unopened for at least 50 to 60 years, containing items that are likely from the mid to late 1800s or early 1900s, though the exact date is uncertain. The items belong to a relative. All the hinges are made of wood, with no metal parts. The scissors' blades don't cut, but instead function like a clamp when closed, making them incapable of cutting. The tool is hand-carved from a single piece of wood, resembling scissors with breakaway handles. I've searched for similar items using keywords like wooden scissors and breakaway handles, but haven't found anything comparable. It's possible I'm not sure what they're called. Any ideas what this thing is? It totally looks like something my grandfather would have made for shits and giggles. He was an incredibly talented wood carver and made lots of toys and puzzles for us, and occasionally whipped out a WTF are you doing grandpa project like this. Carving thins with moving pieces out of a single hunk of wood was a specialty of his. One time he carved a Rube Goldberg-type machine that used counterweights to deliver an egg to a pan out of a stump of almond. It was useless, it cracked the eggs and left the shell in there, but it was funny. A colleague of mine found these at a German thrift store. Strange wooden objects, likely made of maple or pear wood, with both concave and convex surfaces. They range from about 0.6 to 4.5 centimeters in diameter. The cashier, a Dutch man, also had no idea what they were. All the cylindrical pieces at the back are the same size, around 1.2 centimeters in diameter. We've already tried searching with Google Lens. Some colleagues suggested they might be used for buttons or tailoring, while others thought they could be related to wood turning. Any ideas? These are dies for a watchmaker's Rober-style crystal press. They're used to insert or remove crystals from watches. They're not glued in, just press-fitted with a gasket. We've had this item in our cabin in Norway for as long as anyone can remember, with no one knowing exactly what it is. Theories range from it being used for yarn making or fishing gear to possibly being some kind of toy. The cabin dates back to 1928, and it used to hang on the wall as decoration, so the string might have been added later to hang it up. We're not sure. It's lightweight and has a cross on one of the handles, possibly to differentiate between left and right when in use. Any idea what it could be? They are used to wind up fishing line AMD to hold on to while fishing, particularly for ice fishing. Google for Fiskaharp and you'll see modern versions, but the principle is the same.